Today is a road trip day. We're heading up to Port Douglas, where I have been to before, just before I came to Australia in the end of 2019. Palm Cove, Clifton Beach, Trinity Beach, Yorkeys Knob. Now the first stop that was of interest on this road trip was these signs here. What's his name? Oh, that's what it is. The Explorer Leichhardt. Leichhardt? Oh, I never realised that. The Savannah Way follows the daring routes of many early explorers such as Leichhardt and A.C. Gregory, who crossed the top of the continent. Then came the legendary boss drovers such as Wentworth, Darcier and Nat Buchanan, who pushed large cattle herds from Queensland stations to stock the new runs in both Northern Territory and the Kimberley. I'm always stunned by the size of the ants here. So here's a bit more about Savannah Way, Cairns to Broome, through the Gulf Savannah of Queensland, the top end of the Northern Territory, and the Kimberley region of Western Australia. An adventure drive, the Savannah Way traverses remote landscapes connecting frontier communities between Cairns and Broome via Katherine. I'm not going that far today. Maybe that's for another video. Trinity Beach, for 1.5 frantic years, was a beach where thousands of troops moved in and out of the beach undertaking amphibious training. After the training headquarters were closed down, Trinity Beach slipped back into being a place for beachside weekenders. Between May 1943 and December 1944, thousands of Australian troops were rotated through this area for training in all aspects of beach warfare. During the Pacific War, Cairns became one of Australia's largest military embarkation ports, and the region was dotted with a variety of facilities and camps. HMAS Kuranda and the RAAF Catalina base were located in the North Cairns Wharf area. Amphibious training was carried out on other beaches beside Trinity Beach and up and down the Cairns coastline. This included 4 Mile Beach at Port Douglas, McCanns or Mackans, Holloways and the Buchan Beaches, Palm Cove, Double Island and Bramston Beach south of Cairns. This allowed for a variety of scenarios and conditions. So this very beach here, back in those days, had soldiers running up and down it, practicing, training. World War II warfare training at Trinity Beach focused on the techniques used in the early stages of an amphibious landing on enemy-held shores. Trainings were in blocks of 3 or 4 weeks. As you can imagine, the troops would have worked quite hard, but there was also time to take off and have some fun. It wasn't all work. A little bit further up the road is Alice Beach. Now, I remember this from the last time I was here 6 years ago, and it introduced me to the culture of Australia and things that kill you. I had never heard of, what are they called? Swimming nets? Fish nets? Shark nets, that's it. Alice Beach is one of the few places in far north Queensland where the rainforest almost meets the reef. Behind the beach rises the lush McAllister Range, while just offshore lies the Great Barrier Reef. It was going to blow, but it stopped blowing the minute I put the camera on it. Not a a bad place for coffee. So this is called the Rex Lookout, which is named in recognition of a Raymond Rex. He was the early advocate of the Captain Cook Highway, which was officially opened in December 1933. The extensive roadworks along the Captain Cook Highway are repairing the widespread damage caused by ex-tropical cyclone Jasper in December 2023. Most reconstruction works are expected to be finished by early 2027. Do you notice all the roadworks? Apparently there's been quite a bit of rain in Cairns over the last year. This area here is the Crocodile viewpoint over the Mowbray River. Apparently at low tide you can see the odd crocodile sunning themselves here, basking in the sun. I don't think that's one. Not today. I have seen a few crocodiles though from my trip in 2019 in the safety of Hartley's Crocodile Adventures, plus other Australian animals, and was impressed by the size of a termite mound. This memorial was erected in this park created to honour the pioneers, the founders of Port Douglas, who paused here at Craiglee. Also to their faithful servants, the horses, mules and bullocks that provided the motive power for the Cobb & Co coaches. And well, there you go. The drivers, horse and bullock teamsters, packers and all travellers who braved the horrors of the old bump road back in 1877 to 1893, when Port Douglas was the gateway to the hinterland. Here's a bit about Christy Palmerston, who was the discoverer of the bump track. For the steepest grade on the uphill Slaty Pinch, teams would often double bank two teams. Alright, here's a picture here of donkey pack team being assembled for loading from the Walsh & Co wharf in front of Maclean's Hotel on Wharf Street, Port Douglas. So in 1770, Captain James Cook, sailing on the Endeavour, struck the Great Barrier Reef. He pulled into shore for repairs what is now known as Cooktown. In April 1877, Christy Palmerston with William Layton discovered a route from the Hodginson's River down to Island Point, and this became known as the Bump Road. Christy and his mate W.L. also found a suitable route from the Hodgkinson Goldfield, 70 kilometres away as the crow flies, to a place described as White Cliffs, which was to become the site of Port Douglas. Port Douglas is not just a holiday or a tourist destination. Port Douglas is a small tropical town that started in 1877 with the North Queensland gold rush. It was the closest seaport to the newly discovered Palmer River goldfields, with thousands of miners and supplies passing through its busy port. Although the gold rush didn't last for long, it transformed Port Douglas into one of Queensland's busiest ports at the time. The town's fortune changed when the railway from Cairns to inland mining towns was completed in the 1890s. Cairns became the important hub and Port Douglas gradually declined. as shipping and trade moved south. Port Douglas then experienced a remarkable revival in the 1980s as tourism flourished in the area. Douglas Shire Council Sugar Wharf. From 1877, deep draft sail and steam driven shipping that anchored off Port Douglas had been serviced by small lighters or boats. In 1900, after the construction of a sugar mill at Mossman, the Douglas Shire Council built a wharf further upstream in the harbour for bagged sugar shipment with a rail link from the mill. Despite its popularity now as a tourism destination, it has carefully preserved much of its heritage buildings, including St Mary's Church behind me and the sugar wharf that I just walked past. That beautiful church behind me was built in 1881, although sadly was destroyed in the devastating 1911 cyclone. It was reconstructed, however, with its original timbers on the same site on Flagstaff Hill in Murphy Street in 1914. Who's this guy? Carston. Sir Carston. FDA Carstons arrived in Port Douglas in 1886. He was a pioneering businessman, former Douglas Shire chairman and owner of Port Douglas's Exchange Hotel. Following his death in 1906, the community honoured his contributions by erecting a 5.6 metre Carrara marble memorial that you see here. And up the top of this hill is a place called Flagstone Hill. Port Douglas was established as a convenient port for goldfields of the inland. The town was named Port Douglas after John Douglas, the Premier of Queensland. Shame about the weather. However, it's Port Douglas. It's still 27 degrees. And here is Ayers Rock, which of course is now Uluru, 1,688 kilometres. At the top of Flagstaff Hill, there is this little 1.3 kilometre walk down to the water, which I thought might be worth checking out. This will lead me down to 4 Mile Beach and the Coral Sea. To be honest, I'm not sure what there is to see at the end of this. You won't find out though unless you try, right? There's quite a few steps down. This will get my steps in for the day. And apparently there is a lighthouse at the end of this walk. Oh, geez. Oh, this bit's quite cool. All these fig trees creating a walkway. So we've just walked From here, from here, or right up to here, fig tree viewing platform. Apparently the lighthouse is up this way somewhere. This isn't it, but it is the Customs Boathouse Dixie shed. Alright, so Island Point Lighthouse. The lighthouse in the top photo here was blown over in the 1911 cyclone. In the photograph on the right, the lighthouse is mounted on wooden stumps, and the kerosene tins which held the fuel for the light are visible because beside the wooden stumps. And here it is. Most visitors don't realise that's here, and you can see why, because it is tucked away a little bit off the walking track. And that's it really. That's Port Douglas's lighthouse. Cool houses. What did I say about what goes down must go up? I came here for a brief holiday just before I took off on my big move to Australia. I liked it then because it's just a beautiful beach and the water is just so warm. It combines modern tourism with its gold mining and port history. Thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon in the next one. These shoes are what's called reef shoes, and they're designed for the wet.